Leg 2 of the conference semi-final is this weekend, and in fact, Leg 2 actually starts tonight. This match between the Sounders and Portland is going to be starting tonight because, as I mentioned in the preview, they had some schedule conflict at CenturyLink Field. Apparently, they have a car show that's going to be happening there in the weekend, which is why this game is going to be taking place right now instead of all the rest of the game that takes place on Sunday. And I might as well just talk about this first because, this game is about to start. And if you're a Sounders fan that is at the stadium, or you are marching down Pioneer Street, which I think that's the street you usually march down whenever they do the march down to the stadium, you can of course get to have first priority and watch me do the preview of this game. So obviously Portland won last week. They won 2-1, which means that they lead the aggregates 2-1. Timbers can move on with a win or score more than one goal on a draw, and actually this is wrong. It should be that all they need is a draw in this game, and they will be moving on because they currently lead the aggregates, while the Sounders have to win in this game. And really, if they do not win in this game, then they are going to be out of the playoffs. And they don't really need to win very big. All they need is a 1-0 win, and that of course will do it. But they need to win in this game, and it's obviously going to be very tough for them to potentially going to get a win because they had those two major injuries after that first meeting last week, or the first leg meeting between both of these teams. I can officially confirm you that Chad Marshall will not be playing in this game because he undergoes surgery on his knees that he suffered in that game, in that leg 1 game, and it looks like most likely he's out for the season. And I know they haven't officially announced that he's out for the rest of the season, but when you have a knee surgery and they said that it's on the meniscus that he is having surgery on, most likely he's done for the season. And I think the only good news I can say to Sounders fan about Chad Marshall is that I think he will be bounced back and he will be playing another year for your team. It's not a torn ACL injury, which is obviously good, because if this was a torn ACL injury, then yeah, his career could go up in flame. But with a meniscus injury, once he gets that surgery done, and after probably a couple of weeks or month, I don't know how long it takes for a meniscus to kind of get better once you have surgery, because I'm not a doctor, okay, but it's going to take a couple of weeks or maybe months, and most likely he's out for the rest of the playoff, which is huge loss for them because he's the best defender of this team. And I was very surprised he did not win Defender of the Year. They gave it to Aaron Long, which that was another guy that I thought he had a pretty good season in terms of defense, but when you look at probably the defender that has meant so much for a team, Chad Marshall clearly is that for the Sounders. So, certainly that will be a big loss for them. The good news for the Sounders is they do have a good replacement for Marshall. They have Roman Torres, who is a veteran World Cup kind of player, and also a player that has experience in the playoffs with the Sounders in past year. But the bad news is Roman Torres has been barely playing this year. Other than the World Cup time when he played for Panama, he has barely been starting or feature as a center back for this Sounders team. So fitness level is going to definitely play a part into that. And then the other injury that the Sounders might be, another player that they might not have in this game, is Christian Rodon. Now, Rodon is questionable for this game, and this is a big decision that Brian Schmetzer will have to make in this game because you already lost your biggest defender for this game and probably for the rest of the season. Do you decide to risk it and put Rodon in there and add a little bit more on your attack? Because you need goals in this game. If you don't score in this game, you are not going to move on into the next round. So do you risk it? Do you put Rodon in there after he suffered that injury back on the first leg? Or do you want to let him get healthy and just risk it and hope that Ladero and Ruidíaz will make an impact for this team? It's a big decision that Schmetzer will have to do. And again, it's a very questionable whether or not Rodon will be ready for this game or not. But overall, when you look at this game, it's still really hard to call who's going to win this one. I mean, on one hand, you could say that Timbers might have a chance to win this because they have the aggregate lead, and also the fact that they have won the only Cascadia Derby meeting at Seattle this year. They won it 3-2. But on the other hand, the Sounders has been very good at home. And they did have that away goal, which is really crucial because, if this game does, for the Timbers, if they score like maybe 2 or 3 goals, if the Sounders score like 3 goals, then the Timbers have to make sure that they have to score two goals so that they can move on. So it's very hard to really see how this game is going to end up, but certainly we'll see how much the Sounders will miss Marshall and potentially Rodon in this game. In the last match, it doesn't seem like they missed Chad Marshall a lot, even though when he came out, Roman Torres and Kim Ki-hee did a good job in that defense, so maybe they don't really need to worry about that. And maybe they need to worry in terms of the goal scoring department because they really struggle that part, even after Ruidíaz put them up after just 10 minutes. But moving on in the next match, so Sporting KC, they take on RSL, so the aggregate is currently tied at 1-1, but Sporting KC does have the advantage because they have the away goal. So if this game ends in a 0-0 draw, or if Sporting KC gets a win, then yeah, they're moving on into the next round. While RSL, they can of course win this game, or if they score 2 or more goals in a draw, then they will move on into the conference final because they were able to move on away goals. They have more away goals than Sporting KC has done. And when you look at this game really, for Sporting KC, the pressure is on for this game. They have to win this game. I've been saying how this Sporting KC team has been a team that's been definitely different than the past Sporting KC team. When they face adversity and when they face kind of a pressure situation, they always find a way to figure it out and get a big result. Well, if they fail to deal with this situation, then I'm pretty sure everybody will go back and say that Sporting KC is a choker kind of team. I mean, 5 straight years without an appearance in the final. 5 straight times they have been knocked out in the first round or even in the semi-final, like what they are this year in the playoffs. And you wonder, things are not going to change for Sporting KC. And as for RSL, yes, they do not have Rusnak for this goal because he is suspended, and that's a huge loss for RSL in terms of that attack. And this means that Damar Krylak will have to really step up and kind of have what a game that he had against LAFC to potentially maybe force an upset in this game. But if you're RSL, I would say that they should play this game with no fear whatsoever. They need to really approach this the same way they did with LAFC, because let's face it, this team should definitely not be in this position. I mean, nobody expected them to get this far. There's really no expectation for this RSL team. So really, they just don't need to even play like they have something to lose. And really, all they need to do in this game is that if they play with that no fear, and if they remind themselves that, hey, we done this before. We look what we did to LAFC. We can do the same thing to Sporting KC. Then, that is kind of the mentality that I think RSL should be implemented. And maybe that's kind of the team talk that Mike Pecky will give his team. I mean, hey, we've done it before. Why not do it again this time against Sporting KC? So, it's very interesting to see how this game will unfold. And again, RSL, they don't necessarily have to win this. I mean, if they get a draw, as long as they either get a 1-1 draw, which send this to extra time, or just get a 2-2 draw, they are moving on into the next round. So this is not a must-win game for RSL, but it is a must-win game if this game does stay at 0-0 for a very long time. But moving on, Atlanta, they play, of course, against NYCFC. So Atlanta currently leads the aggregate 1-0, and certainly Atlanta has a huge advantage coming into this game, not only with the aggregates, but they also are playing at home. And I'm pretty sure Atlanta, they will have Miguel Almiron back 100%. You know, he did play in that game against NYCFC, played about an hour, and he looked pretty good. So I'm assuming Tata Martino will send him out for the full 90 minutes in this game. And Atlanta, of course, all they need is a win or a draw, and they move on into the next round. Well, NYCFC, they need to get a win, or else they are going to get eliminated. And you know, if they get a 1-0 win in this one, then it will be sending to extra time. And you know, this is a tough situation that NYCFC find themselves in, because they did not play very well in the last game, and you wonder, with Almiron 100% healthy, and if he's gonna be doing the same performance that he's been doing all season long, then Atlanta is just gonna stroll past NYCFC. And you know, that's why that loss at Yankee Stadium was huge for NYCFC, because that was the one that I thought for sure that maybe they can get something out of that one, because Atlanta really struggled playing in that short field. But now it's back at Mercedes-Benz Arena, and you know, NYCFC have got a result earlier in the season by getting a 2-2 draw, but a draw does not do it in this game. They have to win this game, and Atlanta is just really tough to beat at home. I mean, I don't recall they have actually, I know they lost at least one home game this season, but it's been a while, okay? And this Atlanta team is really, really good. And now a lot of Atlanta fans is going to probably remind me of why I pick NYCFC over Atlanta. They're going to say, see, I told you about that. And I will, of course, take 100% of the kind of roasting that I'm going to get if Atlanta does move on into this. And I have no problem dealing with, because, you know, like I said, in that video, I talked about how my opinion usually are not 100% correct. It was just my opinion, okay? And if it's wrong, then okay, it is what it is. Atlanta fans can call me a hater and say they can roast me all they want. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's just my opinion, and don't take it too personal, okay? But moving on into the final game, so the other New York team is also in trouble coming into this one. The Red Bulls, they lost 1-0 in the last game to the Crew, and the Crew, of course, have a 1-0 aggregates lead. And you know, like their neighbor NYCFC, they also have to win this game, or they have to, if they get a 1-0 win, they'll force this to extra time. Although if this game does go to extra time and it goes to penalties, yeah, that might not be a good bet for the Red Bulls. And, you know, I know they have Robles in goal, but when you have to face, again, Zach Steffen in a penalty kick shootout, boy, oh boy, I would definitely not want to be in that situation. And you can ask Atlanta and DC fan of how it feels to go into a penalty kick shootout and have to face Zach Steffen. But for the Red Bulls, like I said, this, just like Sporting KC, they have to win this game, and they have to move on and beat Columbus. And you know, Columbus, I think they're kind of a team that, you know, probably this is a team that I definitely didn't expect them to make another good run. I mean, I thought this team was definitely weaker than last season team, but it just seemed like for the Crew, they always tends to pull off some big kind of miracle kind of run out of them, and a lot of that has to do with Higuain being just amazing, and also the fact that Zach Steffen has really stepped up in the playoffs this season. So, Yeah, I just think for the Red Bulls, they got to figure it out to break down this Columbus team, because Greg Berhalter is going to literally do the same thing he did in the last game. He's just gonna bunker down. He's gonna make this Red Bulls team trying to break down that defense. And from what I saw from that Columbus and Red Bulls game, it's clear that the Red Bulls did not figure out how to break down this Columbus team. And all this talk about how Chris Armas was going to find a way to maybe find alternate plans to try to not always rely on the press as a way to win games, and trying to find a way to break down teams that tends to bunker a lot. Yeah, it doesn't seem like that talk has really come to fruition whatsoever. The Red Bulls still struggle in terms of breaking down teams that likes to bunker. And I just think if Columbus get a goal in this game, yeah, it's game over for the Red Bulls. I mean, if they get a goal in this game, from what we've seen from the Red Bulls in the past, and what we've seen in the second leg in the past, where once their opponent get a goal, then yeah, the Red Bulls is not going to be coming back. And I'm pretty sure if Columbus get the first goal in this, they'll be up 2-0 on the aggregates, and the Red Bulls will have to get 3 goals to try to move on into the next round. And against this Columbus team, against this very organized defense, yeah, that is just a really tall order to ask. And that's the other thing that I wonder what Chris Armas is going to do. How aggressive is he going to try to do in this game? Because if you give up that 1 goal to Columbus, you are screwed. Like, you have to get 3 goals, and with how Columbus has been playing all season and how they love to bunker down, 3 goals is almost an impossible task. So how aggressive do you go? Do you want to be maybe a little bit conservative and then maybe find a way to score a goal? Either way, you have to score a goal in this. A draw in this game, a 0-0 draw won't do it either. And yeah, we shall see how that is gonna end up when this game is played on Sunday. And this is also the last game of the second leg in the conference semifinal. So after Sunday, by the time Sunday night comes, I will now know who exactly will be playing in the conference final. But yeah, either way, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time. And oh, by the way, one more thing, I will do the review of this game after this match is over, so we will be finding out one of the teams that is going to be in that conference final. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.